Hi, my name's Susan, and I am the executive director. I run Stuart Shanker's organization, and I work really closely with Stuart, and I am a huge self-reg advocate. And I do these vlogs, and I do them occasionally and trying to get a little bit more regularly, but I find the ones that come out of something that happened, an experience that I had, are the most meaningful. They're the easiest ones to do, and I guess that's just because they resonate personally. So I got this email. I get lots of emails all the time about what do I do, what do I do, and trust me, I spent years in the classroom. I get it, and I was in, some of the toughest. I was in some pretty tough classrooms, so I've seen a lot over the years in the different roles in education. So anyway, I get this call, this email, and it was about a fellow who is in one of the Western provinces, and he has a self-reg classroom. He told me he had a self-reg classroom, and self-reg's not working, and he doesn't know what to do with it. Big fan of Stuart's, has read the book, Common Learning, is reading self-reg right now, and help, what do I do, and my heart breaks for him, first of all, because I can hear a good person and under a lot of stress and strain. But instantly I have to go to my, where do we start? Because it is a bit like, where do we start? A pull-out classroom with a whole bunch of students that, other classrooms can't manage is not a self-reg classroom. So instantly, as soon as I hear that, a self-reg classroom is every classroom in your absolute school. So I instantly know, that there's definitely not a deep understanding of self-reg. And that only comes, we find, through the people that go through a certification. I mean, I know it sounds like we're, saying the same thing over and over again, but it's the intense deep diving in that builds the understanding. So I decided to make this short little video. And I asked him, and I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I am, teaching them self-management. I have, taught them, the whole, showed them things about responsibility, and, I've tried his the different ways to support positive behavior and so on. So all sounds lovely. I'm not necessarily saying don't do that, but none of that is self-reg. So this happens way more than I'd like to, you'd be surprised. It happens at all levels. We have people that are talking about Stuart stuff. They'll quote his definitions of self-reg, which, by the way, is this. Self-reg is about understanding stress and managing energy and tension. And so you'll see that quoted. Sometimes you'll see somebody will use an older version of that. A lot of times we see somebody has picked up a version of that that's somehow linked to responsibility for behavior, and they grab that, and that's the one they use. And but in the end, the real shifts that come from you and really genuine practicing self-reg and embedding it in everything we do. So I wanted to put out there 5 misunderstandings. I have them written down over here, so I'm going to look at. So number 1, self-reg is not social emotional learning. It's also not self-control. It's not restorative practice. It's not self-management. It is not it's not executive function. It's not any of those programs that we have out there to teach emotional control, emotional management, emotional modulation, naming of the emotions, or any of those things. And this is not a criticism of social emotional learning. I'm so thrilled. We're thrilled to see it absolutely everywhere. But here's the thing. When you do a disservice when you treat self-reg and social emotional learning like the same thing, because they're not, right? They are 2 different things. And that definition, right? Energy and tension that I just talked to you about. We're talking about brain bodies here. Right? We're talking about brains and bodies. When we talk about social emotional learning, we're trying to work with the prefrontal cortex. I'm no neuroscientist, and I'll prove that to you with my puppet. I know, but it helps, right? So the Triune Brain is this model of the brain. It is not meant to say there are 3 different parts of the brain. It is just meant to say that if we can understand the different roles that the different parts of our brain play at different times, we can help a kid, we can help ourselves, we can help our neighbors with self-regulation. So here it is. He told you I'm not a neuroscientist. Okay, limbic system, limbic brain, right? The home of emotion, but also the home of the amygdala. It's the place that goes safety, threat. It is the home, I mean, to so many things, but when it perceives danger, sends out directions all around the body to do different things, turn things on, right? Get heart rate going, sends out, you know, the chemicals that do that, but also turns things off. And one of the things it does is dim down the prefrontal cortex, that good brain that we need for good learning and thinking about, you know, taking accountability, all those things. So limbic system, blue brain, right? That's the prefrontal cortex, neocortex. New part is the brain. Human brain, social brain. Well, it's all human brain, but so we spend a lot of time, you know, talking at this blue brain. That's where we want to have on, and it's where all the learning happens. I mean, it's definitely what we want to target. But we have to realize that sometimes we flip our lid. This is adapted from Dan Siegel's "Flip Your Lid," and that if you sense a danger, flip your lid. And the red brain becomes the one I like to say is running the show. And so that's a really good way of thinking of it, which brain is running the show. So when we think about social emotional learning, if I am trying to help, you know, a child learning about emotions or to name emotions, if red brain is running the show, right? I mean, then at that moment, what that child needs is to feel soothed and safe. And so we work on turning off the alarm. We work in self-regulation on self-reg, on what's beneath the ability to thrive in a social emotional learning program, right? Same with the others, right? Restorative practice, wonderful. I would take restorative practice any day over some of the other models of dealing with accountability. But the thing is, you need to have that blue brain back online first, right? So how do you know the difference? Do your social emotional learning, right? Do it. The kids that are not thriving, that are not grasping it, that are not using it, the lessons are there, but you're not seeing it transfer over, and Johnny's still taking meltdowns all the time. Self-regulation. You need to go beneath, right? You need to go beneath stress, energy, tension, beneath. Tons of stuff you can learn on this. So it is not that, and it's definitely not emotional control. We are not trying to suppress anything. And that goes for you and I. If you have an urge, I like potato chips. I go to them. I've always known it's a stress go-to, but I recognize that that urge is telling me about a bit of excessive stress, right, in my systems. And so I do something different now that I understand self-reg. I go, that's a sign. Thank you. Brace it. It tells me something, right? And so instead of me trying to say, don't eat the chips, don't eat the chips, well, it's the same with kids, right? We don't want to create. This isn't about suppressing. We want to create the urges for these in the first place. What are the roots of their behavior? That's the hope. Suppressing to me is well, learning to conform, right? Comply. Compliance shouldn't be a goal. I'm sorry. It can be something you can look for. I want my daughter to comply in her classroom, like I do. I want her to know when to stand up too, right? But I want her to want to do that, not because she's afraid, not because she's trying to get the points on, you know, whatever system there is. I want her to do it because she wants to be a good citizen. Okay, so not about suppressing, not about managing. It's about understanding behavior. If a child lacks self-regulation, we think they're misbehaving. That is misunderstanding number 2. Self-regulation, these are kids. If they have a self-regulation issue, oh my Lord, heart should go out to these kids. They are burning so much energy just trying to be with you every day, and we need to look at it differently. And when we reframe and look at it through what's going on in their brain bodies, imagine you could see a Fitbit, right? And that Fitbit didn't just tell you the heart rate. Heart rate, by the way, can tell you a whole lot. But it gave you an insight into the neurotransmitters into my oversimplified brain. And you could look in that kid and see whether that was blue brain, cold, calculating, knew exactly what he was doing, or whether that was a red brain, fight or flight, survival is all that matters, me. That it's meant for survival. It's about individual, right? It's not about we. You want we thinking, you need to see with those soft eyes. So it has nothing to do with being lazy. In fact, they don't know what to do, right? And we can teach them self-reg. We can teach them the 5 steps. So if somebody's talking to you about self-reg and they're saying it's Stuart stuff, and they're not talking about the 5 steps of self-reg, it's not our stuff. It's not. And, you know, and that is reframing behavior. Recognizing stressors reduce the stress. There's lots we can do as adults to do that. Reflect, which has to do with about an embodied understanding of stress awareness. And we do it, we co-regulate, we help a child do it, and then we teach them to do it for themselves. Self. They can do this. This came out of work with kids with autism at 3 years old. They can do this, right? And the final one is respond, and that is not coping strategies, right? Those are ways to reduce stress. Respond is about restoring energy and breaking tension. How do you do that, right? Different from me. And it is not all one size fits all. Let's go to the, and do this shared breathing together. For some people, that is a stressor, right? And understanding these hidden stressors, it's not the stress that you think it is. We need to dive deeper. So number 3, that this is only a problem with teens. No. Self-regulation is about being human. There are hundreds of systems that our body is regulating all the time. All kinds. Levels of this and that in our blood and our oxygen and our, there's all kinds of systems. It's when they get out of balance. So there's a normal range. Think about a thermostat. It's when they get out of range. And we're really worried about those kids that have multiple systems out of whack, right? And that can be from everything from lack of sleep to, too much sugar in the diet, right? That actually how the brain has to deal with it, the energy to get that out of your system. Difficulty reading the social cues of others, right? For some, that's very overwhelming. Social situations can be incredibly stress depleting, energy depleting, right? Empathy. I am an incredibly empathetic person. I find it almost excruciatingly painful to see anybody suffering. That drains energy. That's what we're looking at in self-reg, right? This is about whole child, whole person, whole me and you. It's about my grandmother. It's about you and I. It's about how we live on the day. It's like as if imagining we have a car and we're learning to drive it as best we can, right? And we're helping the people whose cars don't seem to be running real well to figure it out for themselves, what it is they need to do, right? Self-reg holds the answers. I've seen it over and over and over again. Here's another one. That reporting, whether it be in discussions or on report cards or whatever, on things like work habits and independence and organization and problem solving and being responsible, is reporting on self-regulation. It's not, right? That's self-management. If you want to use that definition, we found 447 definitions of self-regulation. If you're using one of those other ones, that's okay, but you have to be, what I'm challenging you to do is look and say, are you using Stewart's? And saying you're using Stewart's and you're using that energy, tension, and understanding of stress, and then applying it to say it's about work habits, independence. That's not true. That's not right. They're 2 totally different things. One is about like self-regulation in the media industry, self-management. We're looking at brain-body responses to stress. So you need to find some alignment there. If you want to come over to Self-Reg, come and see us. I'll help you. I would love to help you. selfreg.ca. self-reg.ca. Come and help us. Let us help you with the alignment. But let's not keep saying that we're using a definition that from Stuart Shanker and all of this background research, and then going back and saying, reporting on things like, ability to problem solve. Kids who have good self-regulation are able to problem solve, but that's not self-regulation, right? That means that blue brain part of the brain is able to come online, right? And so that child's able to problem solve or to show the self-control that they need for whatever it is that you're looking for. But self-control, self-regulation, not the same thing, okay? So really important. And the last one is that there's nothing that schools can do about it. There's so much you can do. And, sometimes people hear about the early years and how important they are, and it sets the, for the limbic alarm, it can set the stress reactivity pathways and so on. And these are all important. The family, the stressors in the family life, and it does make a difference, right? No trajectory is set. You don't come into the world, you can't self-regulate. Like it does not exist. Science will back that up so strong. So we need to get that deterministic thinking out of our mind. But then we also do that when we think as schools we can't do anything. Are you kidding? You can do a huge amount. Relationships. So self-reg is also the science of relationships. We know that from Steve Porges, right? That's one of the roots of the work that we do with Stuart. And there is so much that you can do. It's not just that relationships are nice. Relationships are the key. Relationships turn off alarms, right? Child has a, you know, fight or flight. Can you soothe and bring it down? Bring it down. Can you do that? But then as well, can be that one single adult that can bring things along, the one that helps see the strengths in the child, that sees the incredible energy that a child is putting into something, helps that child believe in themselves and understand their own stress system so they can learn to drive their own car. You can do this, and it'll help you as well. And so thank you. Those are just 5 misunderstandings. I gotta tell you, there are more, right? There are lots more, and there aren't easy answers, but there are answers. There are answers. You have to come and learn about self-reg. You just do, right? You have to be an energy-focused teacher. So looking at through the lens of self-reg means watching energy, watching for signs of the fight, flight, or freeze, and knowing how to respond when that happens. Do you know? There's all kinds of opportunities for you to learn this. So thank you. I'm so thrilled. Even if I have said something that you do and you didn't realize. So you may have said, I meant well. I believe in whole child. I believe in mental health. I want well kids. Even if you're somebody out there watching this and I said something that was a misunderstanding you held, I just say thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, right? And we have to have those open hearts to realize there's more to understand, and reach out to me. I would love to help you figure out what the right journey is for you. And send us your documents to review. If you're doing something based on Stuart's work, send it to us. We'll review it, right? We will. We have a team of people that really get this stuff. And we're not married to outcomes. If you want to do things in your own way, you just go ahead and do that. But give us a chance to help you understand the wonderful hope that is self-reg. And take care. Bye.